Hi, this is Jeff Evans from Evans Performance Academy. We're going to be taking a look at some basics with our PC Link software so you can get started with your Link G5 or G4X system. Without further wait, let's jump in to check this out. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at working with page layouts in our PC Link software. Now our layout is going to be how things are displayed on screen so we can access information, whether it's calibrating and tuning or looking at data within our PC Link software. We want to make sure that we have solid layouts so we can take advantage of the software, being able to easily find things and be most efficient when we're tuning with our link. Now, this particular layout that we see on screen right now, we can see there's tons of different pages. This is something I provided with the training course that you're able to access within the training course folder that you can download right from the course library. This is something that we're going to go through in the next training module, but this is going to be an example of what things will look like if you have a logically set up and configure layout. Now, you're probably not going to go in and really change much because this layout is pretty good, and you'll be able to follow along with all the training modules and tutorials in this training course. I'll be referencing and using this particular layout, and this is in fact what I use every day, tuning and working with the link. So it's pretty refined and polished. I've been using it for several years now, and I do make some changes to it over time. And any of those changes I upload to the course folder, so you're able to get that latest layout as you're coming into the training course. But what if we want to create a custom layout or change some things on the page? It's important that we understand what available options we have within the layout structuring within the software so that we can do customized options. What I'm going to do right now is actually go in and start with a completely blank slate in terms of a layout. And we're going to create just one or two pages so we can see all the various options and how the workflow is going to be to create a custom layout page. All right, what I'm going to do right now is go up here to layout and go to new layout. That's going to wipe out this layout. Now, it's still available. I have it as a saved file, but it's going to go ahead and start completely fresh. The first thing we find right now is page 1 here. We can see it's going to be displaying. I have no other pages and no data available. I am connected to the link, as we can find right here. It's showing online, but I really can't do anything because I can't access the information. So we have to go in and start taking a look at setting some things up. What I'm going to do is just demonstrate setting up a field page. So things that are of interest for doing field tuning, we'll go and bring them onto the page here so we can see how this workflow works in setting up a page layout. First thing I'm going to do here is go to layout and go into a rename page option. It's going to allow me to rename this page. It won't have the generic name as page 1. We're going to call this fuel tuning. Now, things I'd like to see on my fuel tuning page: the main fuel table, target air fuel, and injection timing. When I have those 3 tables up, that's going to be controlling the majority of the fueling as my engine's running. And they're going to be definitely points of interest that I want to access very quickly. I don't want to have to poke through my navigation menu here and try to find those tables and bring them in. I want them displayed on a dedicated screen. So the first thing we're going to do here is just learn how to bring in the table data so we can access this information very quickly. All right, let's go to ECU settings. And in here we have a couple different options. We can find here, if we're clicking through, we have different things that we can actually click on, different options. This is going to give us show all settings and tables. This shows everything that's available here. Then we can also say just show the tables, and then in here sort alphabetically. So if I click on this, this is going to list every single thing that we can bring in as a parameter for editing or something we can click on to access setup and configuration. So we see all of that. What we're interested in bringing right now is table data. So I'm going to click on this table option. In here, I'm going to look for the main fuel table, or the volumetric efficiency table, the way this particular file has been structured. If I go down here, just kind of moving down my list, I'll find that I have fuel table 1. That's going to be the first thing we're going to bring up. So we can see that it appears on screen. Next thing is we're going to bring this table up to the upper left-hand corner. You can put it wherever you like on the screen, but just understand how this is going to work. So we can grab this. We can see I have a little kind of a crosshatch that appears when I'm clicked on the upper bar, upper window here of the table. If I go here and drag it up to the top, we're going to find that it's going to fit right neatly and nicely into that corner. So we can just bring that over there. I'm going to stretch this out, just move my cursor over here and stretch this table out so it fills up the screen a little bit better and we can see and access the information very easily. So let's keep stretching that out just a little bit more. Okay, so the table is appearing right now, and then I can kind of bring this back a little bit and just slice away the excess of the table. So what I'm going to do is lock it into place. So we're going to click this, and we can see if I click on the upper portion of this table, I can't move it anymore. That little crosshatch disappears because I've locked it into place. The next thing here is we have an actual lock. The lock option is going to allow us to not have any other table appear within this window. If we leave the table unlocked and we go back in here to our large list, let's just say I want to see my target lambda table. If I double click, now the target lambda table appears in here because I haven't locked that to the first field table option. We can see here in our previous menu, it'll flip back and forth. It'll actually keep both of these in here. When I'm setting up a page layout, I like things to be hard fixed into place and not move around like this. If I go here to lock, now I can't toggle through between those, and it's locked onto my field table 1. So when I'm in this field tuning page, I have field table 1 here to edit and to work with, and I don't have to worry about it moving around. I don't have to worry about the table changing if I'm clicking on other ECU settings here. We can alternatively quickly just look at that three-dimensional view of the table right here. You can flip back and forth. Not really important right now. I'm going to go ahead and just click H on the table. That brings in the gradient color of the table. It allows us to see kind of trends in the data within the table here a little bit easier. We can go flip back to H that takes the color away. We'll talk about why probably want to do that at some point. We can actually see the cell tracing of the values of the cell points that have been edited. That's very useful for trying to go through and see what's been changed as we're calibrating and tuning. But for right now, let's cancel that real quick. Let's click H and let's bring that color gradient back. What I'm going to do is bring another table in here of interest, and that's going to be that target lambda table. So double click. We can see that this table now appears. We'll bring it right here, just bring it on screen. And then we're going to go here and we're going to just open it up a little bit. So now we can see that this has been opened essentially full screen. We'll see that right there. And we'll click H, give it some color. We'll lock it in terms of the table changing or moving, and then we'll go ahead and lock it in place. Now the last thing is going to be injection timing, and we should be able to find the injection timing in here. Let's just kind of scroll down. We should see this available in here somewhere. We don't want firing order table. The injection timing may not have been set up in the file yet, which is why we might not find it actually available here for an editable table. And if we go here, taking a look at the full list, just give that a second, and we move down here, that might be the case, is why we're seeing it's not populated as an option in that list. So we might have to skip over injection timing, but I would put the injection timing right here. Looking in here, here we go, injection timing, and we can see it set to single zone. We're not going to get into what that means, but if I set it right now to table, that'll allow me to actually find that table. So let's go here, table, okay. We can see it showing here in green, that's been changed. We'll click yes right there. And then we can see injection timing table. We can see that little crosshatch. That'll appear in our list right here. So if we go back in to our ECU settings, it should appear now in that list, specifically in our tables. And going in here, we should find that injection timing is an option because it's available right here. I can click on it. It should also be available in our drop-down menu, which is right here. So we can see that's appearing. So we can drag and drop this over here into the side and open that up a little bit, and we can see what this looks like. So we can see that table is open, and we can lock it into place. Now you can stretch the window out here a little bit more. So if I kind of keep going, stretch this out a little bit, you can kind of get in that full view of the table. Let's go a little bit more. And then we can drag it over. It'll actually expand the window out. You can see it's kind of moving things around. Okay, lock it into place. We're good now. And then at the bottom, we can actually zoom back and forth, or I guess let's say go back left and right down here at the bottom. So let's click H there. So we have our three main things, or three main parameters that we need for doing our tuning for fuel. Now I want to see data information here displayed on the screen. So that's going to lead me into bringing up information or channels so we can see what's going on. If I right click and go to new view, that allows me to access and bring in live data and loggable data that we can play back. The runtime value list is something that we probably want to have on our screen. The runtime displays the live data from the link. Now it's not going to show us log data through the runtime, so it's only going to be when we're connected, when we're streaming the data from the link and the laptop. We can see it in this Windows. So if I want to add a couple channels in here, It's pretty simple. I can type at the top what I want to see in terms of my data and my channels. If I type in here engine, let's give that a second, we're going to see engine appears. Anything related, it filters out all the runtime channels. These are the loggable live data channels. I'm going to grab engine speed and transfer it. Parameters always visible. We can set options checked here. That's going to mean this parameter is always here available in the menu, and what appears here in order is going to show in our menu right here. Let's go ahead and just filter this down and grab a couple more things. We're just going to go to map pressure. We want to see that, so we'll double click it, brings it here, and then we're going to type in here throttle. Now throttle may or may not appear. It doesn't look like throttle is appearing because it hasn't been configured and set up yet in the file. Let's type in here ECT, or engine coolant temperature. We'll bring that over here. Let's grab IAT, intake air temperature. So we're gonna just grab some basic things here. Let's take a look at lambda as a channel, and we'll grab lambda 1. And let's take a look at, let's say, let's try injection timing. We can actually see what the injection timing is doing right here. That's going to be where the injector sprays in relation to the engine's running in terms of the cycling with the valves being open or closed. So, okay, we have some data information. So right now, taking a look at this, this is real-time values. This is runtime values. This shows me that live data as I'm connected. Now, if I play a data log back, this won't be relevant. It only is going to show me what's live with the link. That's going to lead me into maybe looking at this live data in a different format. I can go in here and I can go to new view. I can look at things in a digital, dial, bar, curve, or target gauge. This is really going to be the same idea here as a runtime list, but now displaying the information in just a graphical type of format. So let me just demonstrate this real quick. Digital gauge. In the digital gauge here, I'm going to allow that to populate. I'll go here to engine, and we'll just look at engine speed here. We'll bring it up into that option right here, and we'll transfer it. Now, you're usually only going to have in your digital gauge one parameter at a time. Click OK, and now we can see that that's showing us the same kind of idea as what we find right here in a digital gauge display. We can actually change the size of this. Again, looking at this, we can make this bigger, smaller, get the idea. Let's go ahead and close that. And let's keep that trend going with engine RPM. And then let's look at a dial gauge. So a dial gauge is going to be just what you'd expect. Looking at your dash on your vehicle, you might have a dial gauge for mile per hour or engine RPM. So let's look at a dial gauge. We'll type in here engine again. We're just going to use engine speed as the example. Engine speed, transfer it over, click OK. And now we find we have that tachometer that we can see here, kind of a digital tachometer. And we can change that shape. Again, bringing this to wherever we like on the screen and locking it. Let's go in here, new view. Let's take a look at a bar gauge. Bar gauge is going to be similar to what we find here, but just in a up and down type of format in a bar. So it's going to go ahead and increase the bars or decrease them. In this case, is engine speed increases or decreases. So we'll type in here engine, and we'll look at engine speed, transfer that, click OK. And now we find we have a bar set up here for engine speed. So we're able to configure that. Just kind of trim it over here. Now, obviously, we don't want engine speed displayed for all these various channels. I'm just trying to show you what the software can do. Let's go here, and let's now take a look at a curved gauge and look at that. So again, another option we have here. I don't typically use the gauge displays. I don't find that they're very effective. I'd rather look at actual channels streaming in here. I think that makes a lot more sense, but personal preference. Let's look here at engine and type that in, let that filter. Engine speed, let's bring it over here to our display list. Now we can see that we have a sweeping type of gauge functionality for engine speed. So we see what that looks like. All right, let's just get that into position of where we'd like it to be for that list. And just give that a second, and we'll lock it. Okay, so now go to new view, and now let's take a look at a target gauge. The target gauge is a little bit different. This is more effective if we're trying to shoot for a specific target. So the parameters will have a target parameter and then the actual. Something like air fuel and target air fuel makes sense for this kind of display. So what we're going to do here is the first thing we have in terms of the parameters, that's going to be what we want to target against, and the bottom is going to be what we're actually finding is the moving parameter that should meet the target. So again, air fuel and target air fuel makes sense. The actual air fuel measure versus the target would make sense for this rather than engine speed. So in this case, I'm going to type in here, let's type in here target, give that a second to filter things down. We're looking for air fuel lambda target. And then we're going to type in here lambda for our air fuel lambda sensor reading, lambda 1. And now if we click OK, we're going to find that that gives us that display. So that, again, is kind of an example of why we'd want to use this. I don't use these typically, but it is an option and something to keep in mind. So let's lock that into place. Now, if we right click here again, we're going to find help browser. I don't use the help browser. Let's click on this. This allows you to access the help information from this particular window rather than going to help into the contents into the dropdown. Again, this isn't really useful in my opinion, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Let's go back to new view. We take a look here, we find a time plot. Now the time plots are really important for tuning. When we work with my layout, you'll see I have a lot of time plots within all of the windows. Allows me to see trends graphically plotted, not just in a number format. Very, very effective for reviewing data. So in this case, we can add groups, parameters, remove, edit, move up, move down within our time plot. Let's go and add a group, and a group is going to be a channel lane in the time plot. I'll go here to parameter, and I'm going to go and add first engine speed. So we'll type in here engine and allow that to filter, and we'll grab engine speed and click OK. Now I don't want to have two dissimilar type of channels in one lane or group in the time plot. So I'm going to create another lane here. So I'll say add group, that's a new lane, add parameter, and in this case I'm going to go bring in my map pressure sensor so I can see what that's doing in another lane. I'll select it, click OK, and now we can see that's another lane or option. I'll add another group and then I'll add a parameter, and in here I'm going to compare target lambda and actual lambda reading. Now I can add those both in the same group or channel lane because the scaling for both sensors or both channels makes sense together, where the map pressure and engine speed are going to be completely different scales, so it doesn't make sense to add those on the same type of group or channel lanes. So I'm going to go in here and type in lambda and give that a second. Go here to lambda 1, click OK, and then I'm going to go here to parameter, and I'm going to add another parameter to my group, and in this case I'll type in here lambda, and in this case I am going to go here and grab lambda target, click OK, and we'll click OK. And now we can see in the time plot window here, it's grayed out right now, but in the time plot we have the data information allows me to see what's going on here. Looking at this, we can kind of stretch this out and bring this in view or focus while we want to see things. So if I go up here to logging and I go here now to record, notice that the time plot is live. It's starting to actually do something. It's going to allow you to see what's going on in a time plot when you're recording data logs or playing a data log back within the software. So if I go here to logging and I go here to stop, we can go back in here with our cursor and actually play it back. It'll go and trace through all the tables. They're all paired together within the software, making this very, very effective and very invaluable tool. Again, my layout encompasses all of this, but we're just trying to get an idea how this all works. All right, let's go in here to new view, and now let's take a look, in this case, at a XY plot. There's actually XY histogram statistics. These I do not use, but they are other options. XY allows you to plot a scatter type of plot to look at information, allows you to spot trends. Example of this would be plotting maybe air fuel versus throttle and map pressure. In fact, I'm not going to even put this up on screen because I don't find it extremely useful doing normal calibrating and tuning. Histogram is going to allow you to plot in a kind of a bar type of format the data or information and allow you to see trends. I don't find the histogram very, very effective, so I'm going to skip that. Statistics allows you to look at statistical review of a log file plotted out in a statistical list, giving you different lanes of data that you can look at. Think of if you're taking a look at data information and you have things in a channel or different channels and printing them out with a timestamp. That's what the statistics is going to allow you to see. I don't find that very useful either, so I'm actually not even going to include that in my list. I don't typically use XY plot, histogram, or statistics. The parameter list, however, I do use pretty frequently, so let's click on that. The parameters list allows you to essentially recreate your runtime value list here, but it's only going to display and allow you to see information as you're panning through your logged data. Let me go and demonstrate. We'll add a parameter, and we're just going to go and add a bunch of parameters in here. So I'll first type in here engine, and we'll bring in engine speed and give that a filter. So engine speed here, click OK, add parameter, and we're going to keep kind of rapidly adding in here. So let's type in map pressure, and I should get a filter here, map. All right, let's grab that.
And let's go here to add parameter and give that a second here. And let's type in here injector. We can take a look at, let's say, injector duty cycle. Just get some information in here, just some channels that we're finding here. So we can do actual pulse width, and let's just bring this data in here. Again, we're just gonna bulk select some things just so we have some information in here. So you see all those channels are available. If I click OK, the parameter list right here as we're looking at this, let's bring that over here and kind of pair it against. I like to always try to bring this into the time plot right here. If I'm moving this cursor through, all of this information here is now able to be seen. When I'm going in here, and let's close that log file. So let's close the log file. Notice everything's grayed out here. So if I'm not logging or playing a data log back, the time plot's grayed, the parameter list grayed, the runtime value is allowing me to see the real-time values being streamed out, but the parameter list is specifically paired with a time plot. I use the parameter list and time plot frequently. Very, very useful. Let's go here to right click. There is a logged value list that's not so useful. I don't typically use this. That will go in and allow you to go review in a list format your data. Instead of just scrolling through here in your time plot and looking at your parameter, you can actually see things with timestamps in a long list. Again, not very useful, just like the statistics in my opinion. There's a vehicle plan and a GPS plot. The GPS plot is something that is useful for looking at track logging, but for right now I'm going to leave it off of this because I don't use it very frequently, if really at all, in the software. The vehicle plan is interesting. It brings up here an overview of the vehicle where it pairs to your time plot. You can see things like your wheel speeds. If you have your accelerometer here set up, you can see that. You can see your percentage slip between wheels, steering angle sensor, braking. We can see all that in here. We can see everything here. It's checked. What kind of orientation, rear, front, four-wheel drive, click OK. And we can actually stretch this out. So if you want to look at kind of the dynamics of the vehicle operating on track, if you want to pair that with a data log, you're able to do that. So again, if I go here to logging and I go to record, if I'm going in and playing things back, let's go to stop, and I'm playing it back within the logging window, that'll display those channels here wherever my cursor is at, and in conjunction with the parameter list. So it is something that may be useful. I don't normally use it for tuning because I'm not super interested in that vehicle plan or the dynamics of what's going on. I can usually look at the log data and get a better idea looking at the trend. So this is going to be how we create a custom page and setting up a layout. If I'm finished with my layout, I can go here to layout and do save layout as. It's going to save this into your layout folder, and then you can retrieve it at a later point in time. This is just an example of what we can accomplish here in the software. Hopefully it makes sense in terms of how we bring in the data and create these type of pages. Again, my page layout, I probably spent a good week on creating and tweaking and refining over the last few years. You'll find that my page layout is extremely effective, very easy to use, and makes you very efficient at tuning. So I'm probably giving you the really ideal layout to work with, or at least in my opinion, it's the ideal layout. I've created it, but it's going to save you a lot of time. You can always tweak and adjust it from what I've given you, and you know how to kind of work with some of this adjustments and some of the setup, but my layout will be that good starting point, and that is, again, something we'll explore the next training module and get a little bit more familiar with, because that's what we're going to be staring at for the remainder of the training course. All right, that's going to wrap it up here, taking a look at creating layout and pages.
Thanks for watching our tutorial. If you're interested in learning more about how to tune your Link G5 or G4X system, check out the video description below where you can find links to our school, some promo codes to get you started and save some money. If you're interested in learning more about Link engine management products, also check out the video description below. That's going to wrap it up here. I hope to see you guys in our school.